Right, I want to show you a fly today which is called Watson's Fancy. I don't know much about the history of it. It's a well-known fly and a well-loved fly, and it's certainly loved by sea trout and by salmon. It's very popular in South Wales and in Scotland, very often on still waters, and as I say, salmon and sea trout love it. It's very good in rivers, and it's a very popular fly for sea trout. Okay, so I'm going to tie this one up for you now. There's one thing to show you. This has got the black crow wing, which is the original tie-in. But I'm going to be truthful with you and show you one that I normally tie for myself with a hair wing. Hair wings becoming popular. Well, they've been popular for a long time, but I'm going to try to show you as close as I can to traditional, original patterns, and you can modify them as you wish. Okay, the silk is black. Just wax this silk. Normally do this before I start, but I'm a little bit disorganized today, so bear with me. Right, here we go. The hook is one which is lovely for sea trout in our local rivers in South Wales. It's the Camazam B175, size 8, quite a heavy hook and ideal for sea trout, and pretty good all-round hook. Okay, I don't go too near the front when I start this fly, but not for any particular reason. Okay, take the silk back to there, ready to tie in the tails, which are the first couple of items. Right, the tail is a golden pheasant tippet. There's two parts to this tail. This is the tippet. I think you are a bit familiar with it. You've seen me use it before, but what you may not have seen is the two tails on together. That's the tippet. I'll just snip this little bit of waste out, like that. And then we have a crest, the golden pheasant crest on top. Now you may see with some of these feathers they've got a twist in them. And if you're careful, you can tie and leave the twist out, a bit like this. It doesn't always work. They've got a twist. It's a lovely feather. Not too happy about that one. Let me try again. Pays to wet it sometimes. It's a lovely feather, and I don't like to discard them just because they've got a twist. I normally put two on. Most of my friends just put one, but I like two because I feel it's a target point for the fish, for the sea trout or salmon. Okay, that's on nice and firm now, and I've managed to get it fairly straight. It should be just sort of sweeping up like that on most salmon and sea trout flies, or suin as we call them in South Wales. Okay, I'm going to take this back, secured nice and tight, nice and firm, and I'm going to tie in the rib. It's a gold braid, a fine gold braid from here. Hope I can get the start of it. Yeah, I've got it. Or wire, you could use wire. I like the braid. It's got a bit more a bit of a sparkle to it. Excuse me while I nip it off. This is the braid. Tie it in a good length of the body because I don't want to have any lumps. And I'll just tidy this up a bit now by tying things down. Small point here, when you tie stuff in and take it up towards the front of the hook like this, try not to have too much of a step in this area because it can distort your wing. So try to tie things off at the side, and that's one of the reasons why I'm leaving that front fairly bare for the time being. Okay, I'm just tidying this up a bit, and what I'm going to do now is apply the body, and before I do that I'm going to put some more wax on my silk, because I'm going to dub on this body. The body's in two parts. Pardon me. The rear, towards the tail, is red seal's fur. Now seal's fur, it's a bit short supply at the moment. So I mix this with some sort of sparkly yarn that I've got, and I'm sorry I can't remember the name of it to tell you, but it's stuff that Jeff Keane has got for me. Keane's Tackle Shop in Aberkenfig. He's a very good supplier of materials. I get most of my materials from him, and he will always try to source particular materials for me. And I am a bit particular, sometimes a bit fussy, so he doesn't always have a very easy job. And with the increase in internet shopping to get materials, I'm going to tighten that a little bit. You know, it's made things easier for the fly tyer, fishing tackle as well. But to me, there's nothing quite like walking around a fishing tackle shop like Keane's Guns and Tackle in Aberkenfig. I'm like a kid in a candy shop when I go in there, and they always try to help me. That's the rear half of the body on, okay? The tail will settle down. Now the front part of the body should be black seal's fur, which I just don't have. So I use Antron. Black Antron. You can use wool, black wool, but I use this black Antron, which is very easy to use. It's got a bit of a sparkle about it, and like the seal's fur, it gives a bit of sinuosity to the fly. You see the roughish body? That's an advantage, and you get a sort of certain amount of translucency with it. And I've tied some of these flies for my friends who go to Ireland, and in the south of Ireland, around Dublin and Kilkenny and that sort of part of the world, they like the rough body. But in the north, my friends in Ballymena, they like to use floss. But I think the body like this is a bit better on this fly, but it's a personal choice. You see how easy that Antron was to put on? It's quite easy because it binds up on itself. Okay, probably a bit too much there, so just nip that little bit off. Just like that, and I'll wind it down. I fly a little bit loose in the vise. I hope it doesn't cause a problem for the demonstration. Okay, now just talking about this Antron and black seal's fur, if you don't have the prescribed material, which is sort of depicted in the pattern books, replace it with something similar. I'll tell you, it may even turn out better than the original. Okay, now I'm going to rib the body, and you will notice I'm going to rib the opposite way to which the body was wound. Following that okay? I'm a little bit cheesed off with this hook a bit in a vise so loose, so I'm going to try to tighten it in a moment or two, because it'll cause a problem. Okay, just bear with me while I just try to tighten this fly, and I hope it doesn't go out of focus in any way. Okay, so what we've got is the two tails. We've got the body, which is in two parts, and we've got the fine rib on it. This is the Watson's Fancy. Right, now the beard hackle. Beard hackle, some use a wound hackle. It can be a black cock or a black hen. I like the hen hackle. It's very soft and it sort of adds movement in the water, which in my opinion gives the impression of something alive. It sort of pulsates. So this goes up under here like this, and I'm going to put it on with a pinch and loop method. Pinching up under like that. Let's just have a quick look at it. Yeah, that's probably a fraction long, so I'll draw it through. Yep, that looks good. That looks good. Right, I'm going now to nip off this surplus here. If you do this, take great care you don't cut the silk, which I have done more than once. Going to tidy that up a little bit. The camera does restrict me a teeny bit because I'm not a very good camera buff and I can lose the focus if I'm not careful. Okay, now we come to the wing, and I'm going to put on a black wing. It can be from a crow or something like that. This is a black piece of feather I've got. I've been using it, as you can see, over the years. I haven't got a lot left, and it's I think it was originally a white one which I've dyed. So I'm going to put on this wing now, and what I do is I like a folded type of wing rather than the two slips. So what I do, I get a section like that and I sort of draw it down to straighten it a bit like this, and I'll cut off a sheet of feather here like this. Let's go to my bench to make sure it doesn't drop on the floor. This is what I've got, a sheet of feather like this, which I'm now going to fold. And the way I do it, I fold one outside edge towards the middle, the next outside edge towards the middle, and then right in half. So I've got about four pieces, sort of like that. Okay, now I'm just going to straighten up these edges because it allows me to see it a little bit better what I'm going to do. And this is the wing I'm going to put on. Now you can use two wing slips if you wish, but I find this easier. And when I say easier, because I'm trying to aim at newcomers, I'm trying to do everything easy. Show the easiest way to do things. And that's the wing on. Okay, now I've said before, with this fibre type of wing, don't wind up over here when you go to secure it. You can wind forward, but not up over, because you can distort it and throw the wing over. So bear with me while I secure it good and proper here. I can go back to where I started, and now I'm going to nip off these butts. The way I do that, if I try to remove them all at once, again, that can distort the wing. So I sort of do it like this, using my dubbing needle, and I remove them a bit at a time. Nice sharp scissors. And if you notice, I go in at the angle of the down eye. You see that wing can easily distort. In like this, in like that. One fibre left there. Okay, now I'm now going to secure these as best I can before I put on the jungle cock eyes, the jungle cock cheeks. Here's our wing. See that? Okay, jungle cock. This is the remains of one of my capes. I've used so much of it. I'm now down to these small eyes, which are big enough for this particular fly. And I by the magic of video, this is one I've prepared. So I put this on. Now I try to get them sloping up a bit, because the body's in two parts, and it's if I can hide the black if I'm not careful. Although the black front part will show up when the fly's working in the water. Now before I do that, I'm just going to touch the head of the fly with some varnish, because it will help to seal things down, that side and this side, and it'll help the jungle cock to stick. Okay, here's the first one. Goes on like this. Tied on like that. Bring my silk well to the eye, where I can then take the stalk back and tie that down to make doubly sure, and then I nip out the stalk. See it there? That's one. This is number two. Goes this side. I can look over and see the size to match them up. So they're both about the same size. Some say it doesn't matter because a fish can only see one side at a time, but that's how I like to do it. And I'll wind towards the eye, bring this stalk back to doubly secure it. I've never had a jungle cock I pull out, because I double the stalk back and I put on a touch of varnish at the very start. Okay, we're getting close to finishing the fly. What I need to do now is secure everything down and finish off the head. This makes the head durable. Makes the whole fly durable. That's it. I like the tail up a little bit, but okay, I'm going to put on my usual whip finish. The way I do it, as you know, I secure that top one and just wind it forward towards the eye. I give 3 or 4, needle into the loop, and I draw it up like that, and that secured it. Cut the silk, and that's it. Now, as I said to you, I normally use a hair wing if I'm tying it for myself, but it doesn't matter. I like a hair wing because it pulsates in the water, but some of my friends, they like the traditional tie-in of it all, and they ask me to do this, and very often they're with me here saying they're going to on a holiday to Ireland, and can I do that? With this particular fly, there are 3, in my opinion, 3 important points of attraction. The glowing yellow tail. Now this does glow, it is a beautiful colour. And the red in the rear of the body, and the jungle cock cheeks. These, to me, are the target points on this fly. And I'm told it does bring up the salmon, and I know the sea trout love it. My friend Dave Smith, who was with me a day or two ago here in my fly tying den, he fishes in Scotland a lot and has a lot of faith in this fly. Okay, that's the head varnished. What we need to do now is clear the eye. I just pick up an old hackle that's lying around on the bench. Always got plenty around. This is the best way to do it. Up through the eye like this and give it a good wipe out. What I call the old bottle brush effect. You can do it a couple of times. Up like that and through. Sometimes you can pick up one of the beard hackles. Now that lovely rough body there gives a it sort of holds some air and bubbles when it comes through the water. So I don't like to trim it, but you can if you wish. And I have a lot of faith in this fly. I know you'll do well with it, and I suggest, my own personal opinion, this is the original tie-in, but I suggest you try a hair wing on it. And you see, a hair wing's sort of American influences really in material, and they've even, particularly hair wings, have even pushed out deep-rooted UK traditions. And you'll have a job to see a blue charm these days without a hair wing, or a Peter Ross. And this is the Watson's Fancy. Other examples of the American influences, in my opinion, are holographics and fluorescence. And they're here to stay. So they're all part of our materials in our fly tie-in box. Okay, thank you for watching that.